Hey there, my name is Chris Winter, and in this video, I want to talk about the brand new Canon SL3, which just got released. Now, this is the successor to this model here, the Canon SL2 or 200D if you're outside of America. And the camera's got a few really exciting new features, and I wanted to talk about them. I've got a bit of a list of them, and we'll see whether or not this is going to be a camera that's worth upgrading if you've got the Canon SL2 currently, or if you're trying to think about which one you might want to buy, the SL2 or the SL3. Now, before we jump into this video, guys, I do want to quickly send a big thanks to my friends over at Skillshare who are being awesome and sponsoring this video, which greatly helps out this channel. And guys, if you haven't heard about Skillshare, or if you've never signed up, I actually really recommend it. Essentially, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, technology, and more importantly for us, photography and cinematography. Now, if you're new to the world of photography, it's probably one of the better places to quickly pick up some tips and tricks on how to step up your photo game. Now, I know a lot of you might not even own a DSLR yet, so a course that I would recommend, and I even recently just took myself, was how to take pro photos on your phone. It's only about 50 minutes, and honestly, it was actually really good. Skillshare is also more affordable than most other learning platforms out there. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month, which is super cheap. So guys, as you know, I don't normally do sponsored videos, so when I do, I generally highly recommend the company, so definitely check out Skillshare. They've been awesome enough to give me 500 2-month free trials to share, so if you want to check it out for free, I'll put a link in the description box below and you can start from there. Definitely check it out and improve your photography today. So anyway, let's talk about the brand new Canon SL3. So this video is not going to be super formal or anything. I'm actually heading off to Australia for 3 weeks tomorrow, so I had to get one out just before because I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be bringing my camera. But anyway, the Canon SL3 just got launched, and if you are outside of America, it's going to be called the 250D or the Canon SL2 Mark II, or if you're in like Japan, it's going to be the Canon KISS X10. So they've always got these funny naming systems, but essentially I'm going to be calling it the SL3 because that's pretty much the most common one on YouTube here. So the SL3, of course, is the successor to the Canon SL2, which was a fantastic camera. The last video I made was actually talking about whether or not it's still a great camera for 2019, and my verdict was that it is. And I actually made lots and lots of videos on the SL2. I probably made 20 or 30 videos, got millions of views on them because it is a really, really popular camera, especially for that kind of beginner to intermediate range, because it's got some really fantastic features, which I also brought over to the SL3. By the way, guys, if you'd like me to get a Canon SL3 in and make lots of videos on it, let me know by leaving a thumbs up on this video. So if you see me looking down every now and then, it's because I've got a couple of the specs down here on my computer, but I really wanted to make sure that you guys got all of the information on the SL3, and when I get the camera into my studio, I'll absolutely be making every video possible. So if you do have any requests on what you want to know about the camera, any kind of tests and things like that, let me know, absolutely. But the very first thing that we are getting a change in is a DIGIC 8 image processor, so that is a little bit of an upgrade. Those kind of things don't make a massive difference with the camera. Generally, it's just going to be operating a little bit quicker, and you can get, slightly faster performance on the whole, but it's not a big deal with that. Now, the major upgrade that was a bit of a shock to me on the Canon SL3 is the inclusion of 4K. And to be totally honest, I think that I don't think we were expecting 4K because so many different Canon cameras have been coming out for the last 4 or 5 years that had no 4K. Now, bringing it into their SL3, which is one of their base model cameras, is a really good sign that Canon are going to be starting to bring it into pretty much every camera now. So any kind of new cameras that are going to be coming out will surely have 4K. But of course, there is always a kind of a asterisk with Canon's 4K, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So like I said, there's always that kind of, it's 4K, but with Canon, and the but is that firstly the 4K comes in at 23.98 frames per second, and that's all it's going to be doing. If you are in a power region, which is kind of like Australia, UK, outside of America essentially, you can also get 25 frames per second, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting 4K in 30 frames per second, and of course we're not going to be getting any 4K in slow motion, so no 60 frames per second or higher than that. So that is, it's okay. And I'm definitely not going to be negative on this one. I think it's fantastic that the SL3 is going to have 4K, but it's definitely got some limitations. The next one is probably the biggest limitation, and this is kind of expected, but definitely always a bit of a bummer. And it's one of the reasons what does hold Canon back, and that is that we've got a 2.64 times crop on the 4K video. So that means that if you're going to be shooting with something like an 18 to 55mm kit lens, it's going to be severely cropped in. So your 18mm is going to be a lot further in. It might be something more like a 50mm or even more than that. So you are going to be really needing to use a wide angle lens if you want any sort of wide angle stuff. Now, of course, the crop doesn't account in 1080p. You're going to be getting a typical 1.6 times crop, which is totally fine. That's what we're all kind of used to. I'm using that right now. But it is important to note that, especially if you're thinking about doing kind of any vlogging or anything with the Canon SL3 in 4K, because if you are, you're going to have a very long arm, and you're going to have a very wide angle lens to have that kind of that nice shot. So that's definitely something. The other thing in 4K that's very much worth mentioning is that the dual pixel autofocus, it doesn't work in 4K. So again, you're going to be getting like a contrast-based image detection, autofocus detection, which doesn't work anywhere near as well. So of course, when I get the camera, I'll be talking about this a little bit more. I wanted to just get out that there are definitely some limitations with this. So don't just think, okay, great, the Canon SL3 is going to be coming out. I'm so excited about it. They're going to be shooting everything with 4K. There are definitely limitations. So the crop's the biggest factor. Shooting in 24 frames per second is okay. I think I'm actually shooting in 24 right now. Could be 20. I normally shoot in 30, but no slow motion in 4K either. So you'll have to bump it back down to 1080p if you want to get any slow motion. Now let's talk about some other things that are pretty new in the Canon SL3, which are really exciting. We've got eye detection autofocus in live view, and I'm pretty sure that's just going to be with stills live view. So that means that it's going to be looking for your eyes instead of just like a face detection, and making sure that they're pinned sharp. So that's definitely something that I like to see, and that's kind of a newer kind of technology that's coming to Canon. Many other cameras have had this for quite a long time. I know Sony's had that for a really long time, but that's really nice to see, because often you can, especially if you're going to be shooting at a very wide aperture of something like f1.8 or even f2.8, it's common to get the face in focus, but you might not be getting the eyes in focus. So that's a really nice thing, and that is in live view as well. And of course, we are also going to be having dual pixel autofocus, the technology, in the live view as well. So if you do like to shoot without using the viewfinder, which a lot of beginners do like to do, that could be a good thing as well. So as usual with these kind of Rebel series cameras, you actually get two colors to choose from, which is really kind of a strange thing with DSLRs. They are very traditionally a black color. Maybe sometimes you might get a kind of a silver color, but this Canon SL3 is going to be coming in a white version. And it's actually quite nice. It's not something I would generally buy, but a lot of people definitely do want to maybe have something a little bit different. And what I like about it is that they've also got a white and silver kind of 18 to 55mm kit lens, so that looks a little bit better. But generally, I'm going to be recommending just going for a black camera, because all of your other lenses are going to be black, and it's generally going to look a little bit weird. But if you are interested in it, the Canon SL3 does come in a white version. One thing that is actually very good is that they've somehow done some magic and increased the battery life on the Canon SL3 over the Canon SL2 significantly to 1070 shots, compared to 650 shots on the SL2. Now, I actually found battery life was all right in photography mode on the Canon SL2, so that's actually a really nice thing. I don't really know how they've done it. I think they're keeping the same battery, but again, that's kind of where that processor kind of technology can generally come in and maybe make it a little bit more efficient. So in terms of battery life, that's a really nice thing that we are seeing on the Canon SL3. So something that's still a little bit disappointing on the Canon SL3 is that we've got a 9-point autofocus system still, it's really old. It's many years old, and I think it's kind of a way of them just cutting costs and not making any major improvements. They've got the technology in cameras that are slightly more expensive, and I think if they're going to be putting 4K into their camera, they can definitely afford to kind of bump up that autofocus system for the still side. To be honest, for most people, it's going to be more than enough. I actually find that the autofocus is pretty good on the Canon SL2, but it would be nice to kind of at least, get maybe 21 points or something like that, especially compared to a lot of the competitors, Panasonic, Sony, which have got just so many more autofocus points, which can help at certain times with your photography, especially if you're going to be shooting things like birds, sports, which you have a little bit less control over. So that is a little bit disappointing. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it's another thing that they could have probably introduced. One of the weird things about the Canon SL3 is that they've got a new smooth skin setting, and it's like, why are you spending your time on that when you could be spending it on so many other things? They've got 5 different types of skin smoothing, which if that's your kind of jam, that's very exciting. But I think for most people, if you did want that, you're probably going to be wanting to do it in a post-production kind of way. And B, I don't really think that we need that in a DSLR, maybe in a point and shoot camera or maybe on your iPhone app, but generally smooth skin setting, bit of a waste of time and a bit of a waste of space. So let's now talk about the pricing. The Canon SL3 is going to be coming in at $600 US for the body only, which to me is actually still very good value. If you want to get the 18 to 55mm lens, that's going to be $749. $150 for that lens. You could probably even pick it up a little bit cheaper somewhere else. But I think $600 for the Canon SL3 is probably going to be around the right sweet spot. I think that the Canon SL2 was undervalued. It probably, for most people, you're getting a lot more camera for the money. So it was actually really good value. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, what I would probably reckon at the moment is holding off on buying the Canon SL3 for a few weeks. Don't do a pre-order just yet. Canon probably won't like me saying that, but I want to be honest with you guys. But I will definitely be trying to get one in for you guys so we can do lots of videos on it, because I think that the Canon SL2 is a fantastic camera. So the addition of 4K, even though it's got a few issues, might also be quite good as well. Well, that's it for me. Like I said, I'm going away to Australia tomorrow for 3 weeks. I'll try and bring my camera and maybe hopefully make some videos as well. But I'm going to be looking forward to seeing my family, because it's been about 6 months since I've been home, and that'll be really nice. That's it. And yes, I'll be trying to make lots of videos on the Canon SL3. Very exciting, especially if you're in the market for a Canon SL2. Probably want to be getting the SL3 now instead. All right, guys, if you made it this far, I would absolutely love it if you wrote in the comments that you made it, because that's always cool. I love seeing it when you guys do that. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.